Morning.
Good morning.
So here we are above the lock, which is, well, sort of behind Joe's head there.
It's dog in a doublet lock.
Dog in a doublet lock. They've opened up for us as a boat came through this morning. That boat was viewers. It was a Dutch barge. They said hello.
I
Yep.
didn't see it.
Yeah, he's looking forward to seeing us on the video. He was like, "You're on the U's," and I'm like, "No, I'm not.
This is the Neen.
This is the Neen." But yeah, no, he just came up from Wisbeach, so we're heading down to Wisbeach.
Yep, it's a pretty nice place to moor. The road wasn't too bad. Nowhere for George, so I walked him along the riverbank. Came down yesterday.
Yeah. And right now there's a gentleman, I think from the EA probably, mowing the verge at the side of the road with what seems to be, it's called a flail boy. It seems to be some sort of large kind of remote controlled lawnmower, and
Giant.
I want one.
Yeah, you don't even have a lawn. You hate the idea of owning a lawn.
I despise the idea of owning a lawn, but that looks like something that I could own and then set up some webcams, program it, and have it destroy whole households. It's just like a weapon.
Wow.
Anyway, we should get a shot of it before we go.
He's disappearing.
Yeah, he's getting too far away.
Anyway, yeah.
The flail boy.
Onto the tidal Neen, or the tidal Nen.
Whichever one it is.
Just covering both bases.
And going to Wisbeach. All right, let's go.
We're off!
To see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of Wisbeach.
The River Neen is tidal below this lock, and therefore the lock has to be manned, and passage is timed to coincide with the correct tide for navigation. Once we're inside the chamber, the lockkeeper brings the upper gates down behind. It's high tide right now, so there isn't much of a drop to the tidal section. In fact, it's less than a foot down. Some last minute advice from the friendly lockkeeper, and we're off.
So you're saying just don't race the tide back, right? Right, perfect.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
It really is an interesting smell, man. All right, have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Oh, and we get a brief shower on our way out of the lock.
Ah!
The river looks full to the brim, which makes sense as it's very close to the spring tide. As we exit the lock, the tide is in slack, so there's no noticeable flow. We'll be cruising ahead of the outgoing tide on our way to Wisbeach, and one of the reasons for this is because the river is too shallow for navigation when the tide is out. That's the Dog in a Doublet pub. The lock and the bridge have the same name. The pub was originally built as a coaching inn when the fens were being drained. Apparently one landlady had a small terrier dog which lost its coat after swimming in the river. She knitted the dog a doublet, and the name has stuck. It's so quiet and peaceful out here, and this definitely feels like one of our more unusual trips, and one that very few boaters get to do. It's about 14 miles from the lock to Wisbeach, and we're expecting the journey to take around 3 hours mooring to mooring.
So we've been going for a mile or so, and it's very pleasant, and I'm enjoying it. But there's nothing to see, just green riverbanks and very high water. But yeah, it is lovely.
Lovely indeed, with only a slight blot on the landscape. Why do people do this? One thing you've got to keep an eye out for on tidal rivers is trees and logs. You wouldn't really want to hit one of those while moving. How are you doing, George? I'm glad to see you've got your life vest on today. Out on this river, you could be forgiven for thinking that you're the only ones around for miles, so it's interesting to see some signs of life every now and then. This sign warns of an underwater pipeline and instructs boats not to anchor here. Conveniently, we weren't planning to. We've never seen this before. Are the cows spooked by the boat or curiously racing it? And here they go again.
What the hell? Bye.
These huge pillars indicate the location of an old bridge. This bridge is at the 8-mile mark, so we've got just 6 more to travel to Wisbeach. It also means we're passing the village of Guyherne. We weren't expecting to see a floating mooring, so it's good to know there's somewhere safe to retreat to between Doggin a Doublet and Wisbeach if needed. All we can spot of the village are a few rooftops and chimneys. As we finally approach the outskirts of Wisbeach, we can see that the outgoing tide is catching us and the water level is dropping. After miles and miles with views of only grass banks, it's rather nice to have all these grand riverside houses to look at. Ahead is the Wisbeach Yacht Harbour. This is where we're going to be mooring for the night. We just need to locate the visitor pontoon so we know where we can stop once we've turned around. Mooring on a tidal river is not particularly hard if you time it right, but the moving water does add a bit of a complication. The tide is definitely on its way out now, but if it's deep enough for those ships, then it's definitely deep enough for us. Here comes the turn, in possibly the biggest winding hole we've ever used. There was definitely some sideways motion when we were halfway round, but Michael made that look pretty easy, considering there's quite a flow on the river now. And we're going to be pushing against that flow all the way back to the mooring. Back past the big ships, but at a considerably slower speed this time. Just look how much mud is exposed now. Some harbour repairs going on there by the looks of it. I'm not sure where this ship's off to, but at the time of editing it's in the Baltic Sea en route to Poland. I've moved up to the bow ready to help with mooring up. There's the pontoon we're aiming for. Moving against the flow of water at least means it's a very slow, controlled approach. Welcome to Wisbeach.
Yes. Yeah. Admittedly, from here there's not much to see except for the dock and the pier and, you know.
The harbour.
Yeah.
It was quite fun. Like, I mean, most of the journey. Like, say it's, I don't know how many miles it was.
About 12 miles.
So, say for 10 miles, it was very nice, but very samey, apart from the cows. And then the last couple of miles, it got really interesting.
Yeah.
Almost exciting.
Yeah, I would say 2/3 of the journey there was virtually nothing. It was getting higher banked on either side as the
we were
as the
dropping.
tide went down.
And it's so funny because you don't notice it happening, but then you notice it's happened. It was really weird.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was pretty uneventful beginning. Then we had the cattle run, which was interesting because it's like, I don't know what you were looking at. You were at the front. I was sitting at the back with George, and I was like just looking dead ahead. There'd been this cow, which I walked, well, bull, and I watched it walk up over the ridge, and I was like, oh, okay, bye-bye cow. Not going to see another cow. And then I'm just, and then all of a sudden, like 70 cow come right over the
Stampede.
Yeah, it's like beef. But yeah, and then they kind of followed us along.
And then they went down, and then they did it again.
Yeah, but it was really funny because we were going along with the tide, relatively high speed, you know, probably, I don't know, maybe 8 miles an hour. And then I'm looking over and here's a herd of cattle.
Galloping.
Well, but they weren't really, they were kind of trotting at that point. And I'm like, wow, they're keeping time with me. Maybe there's something to Joe being worried about these things.
Yeah, because at one stage they were like running along the top, but then at one stage they like turned and they were like coming down the hill, and I'm like, are they going to stop when they get to the water? Or are they going to try
They're
and
just coming in.
stampede? Yeah, but that's what scares me about being in a field, if they suddenly do that.
Well, they do. I mean, clearly, in watching them, they have a lot of momentum. But they do these funny things. Like they all came down the hill.
They were following.
And then 3 or 4 at the front went, okay, stop. And then a bunch at the back went, oh, you stopped. After they'd like rammed into the ones in front.
Okay, that's why I'm scared of cows.
It was quite a, yeah. It was like, well, that doesn't look comfortable. I mean, I suppose, as long as the one behind you doesn't have horns, you're probably okay.
And then, yeah, after that we went under the bridge, and that was kind of the
beginning of Wisbeach.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything, there's kind of a fairly sharp junction there where the river meets. Well, I guess it's the other river that's coming in, so they sort of meet together. And then there's this high road bridge, although it does say 1.2 meters. But that's at sort of maximum tide, right? So we came through with like lots of headroom, but almost immediately it starts becoming more and more industrial in town.
Yeah, you still got the high banks and with the flood defences, but you see like roofs on either side, and then there's the road.
And where it's been mud, it's stone, and then steel pilings, and then and you definitely transition in what feels like a really short amount of time to I'm in the middle of what is a quite large city or town.
The river gets narrower, so obviously that speeds you up as well. So we were like, it's still going out.
Yeah.
We were like really shooting along.
We were supposed to arrive on slack tide, but
it's not slack yet.
I think we were moving quite a bit faster than an average boat, because we've definitely arrived and it's still ebbing out.
Yeah.
But we got here and we came through the harbour, and there's...
Yeah, because we had to go down to obviously turn around and come back. So I was like, we'll be able to see where the visitor pontoon is. And there were 3 pontoons, so we weren't worried, but we couldn't see the sign that said visitor until we turned around and came back.
Yeah, well, yeah, because of course you're just looking for a sign, and I thought, they'd mentioned a sign, and I thought, okay, like a horizontal sign. He had said, you'll see it when you're coming back.
So we just didn't know.
So I just didn't think about the fact that, they put it on the downstream side. So that is the only place you can see it from.
I mean, I don't think it would hurt to have one on this side as well.
I don't think so either. But and they might have, and we just missed it. But then immediately after the berths for the little marina here, there's the beginning of the actual commercial shipping.
So yeah, you start seeing all the big ships, which is always weird. Yeah. Because I'm like, we turned around in this quite big winding hole. I mean, we could have turned around anywhere really, especially if it was slack. But I was like, because I was worried about us turning around. I was like,
how do they turn
around?
But that's their winding point. That's their fairly it's recording, right? That right there, that notch is their fairly tight winding point. Like, for them, they've got to go in, and then they've got a little bit of trouble getting the rear end of the boat around.
Yeah, but then I guess they probably do it at actual slack, because this water is still moving quite fast. Like, we turned around. It wasn't ideal that we were turning around. And
the guy who I was talking to yesterday said that the commercial shipping would be done by the time we left. So yes, they'll be doing it once it reaches high water here and has gone slack. And there's 3 commercial boats down here. There's the RMS LAR, L-A-A-R, which is the one I can see the name of. And it looks like it's carrying some coiling or cable or something, and then the other ones have various wood products. But it's 3 boats. It's 3 good size boat carriers.
Moving though in a...
No, I'd rather not. Yeah, I mean, because you can see from the width of those that there's room for 2 to pass each other with not a heck of a lot of room to spare.
It's just manoeuvring in the tide, that's the thing.
And they'd be pushing a wave that would look to another one of them, it would be like, oh, that's just a minor little trickle. For us, it would be like, oh, good Lord, it's the size of this boat.
But yeah, quite a good adventure. Shame we couldn't go any further. But never mind.
No.
And then so we'll spend the night here, have a little exploring Wisbech if we can get out of the harbour.
Well, there's definitely the ramp over there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that gate up there.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And then tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. we shall be leaving to get up there.
Yeah, and we need to not beat the tide, because unlike this one where we end up being, okay, I've got a little bit of extra water flowing, at that end it'll be like, okay, there's no dirt.
Water. Yeah, he said the last 4 miles, if you get there at low tide, you've basically got no water.
So we want to let it pass us for a little while and then follow it up and just make sure we're not beating it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too hard.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that.
After booking in with the harbour and paying our mooring fees, we decide that we should probably have an explore around Wisbech. When we get back to the boat, the tide is on its way in again, and it's coming in at speed.
Bunch of places to stick it to. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning
Morning.
from the VHF.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why that's going off. It's scanning 2 channels, and I'm hoping no buttons being hit.